Can you tell if people are in or not? Because I don't see.
Hi, I'm going to mute you, Patrice, okay? Hi, everyone. Welcome. We're getting waiting for a few people to get in, and Patrice is going to start in about 1 minute.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Can everyone hear me? Matt, you guys can hear me well? Okay.
We can hear you.
Good morning. I'm Patrice Dollar with North Carolina A&T University. And I just want to welcome everyone to Bank On North Carolina Cooperative Extension. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come to the introduction of Bank On. I feel like Extension is a perfect place for Bank On because of the work that our agents do in the county. I feel like that they would be really well in terms of working with Bank On. So I thank you for being here and welcome. I'd like to introduce our first speaker for this morning, Marquita Robertson. She's with the collaborative, and she's going to tell you more about Bank On and how it works. And then we'll come back to me and we'll talk some more with some of our other agents who've been working with us.
All right, thank you, Patrice. I am going to ask Noya, who is running the slides, to go ahead and advance the slides for us. So welcome, everyone. Thank you all for getting on today. I'm excited to be up here. Patrice and I and some of your colleagues from across the state have been working the past few months to pull this together to present to you guys. So excited to be here. If you could advance the slide, Noya. So as Patrice mentioned, I am the executive director of the collaborative, and the collaborative mission is to close the wealth gap in North Carolina by ensuring that everyone has a pathway to prosperity. We have a few housekeeping things that I want to mention, and I am going to pause. Noya, can you advance the slide? One more. All right, so we have a few housekeeping announcements. We're all pretty familiar with this now because we've been doing Zoom for about 2 years, but just in case you need a refresher, this webinar is being recorded and can be accessed on our website later on. This is a group discussion. However, all webinar attendees have been muted at the start to ensure sound quality. You can share comments or ask questions by using the Q&A feature that is highlighted on the screen. We want you to maximize this experience. You don't need to be an expert. We're all here to learn. We welcome your questions and your insights. Please get comfortable and engage with us. And throughout the program, be considering a way that you can incorporate Bank On into your work. So for our agenda, the program, I am going to provide some context around Bank On North Carolina and move quickly into a discussion about program integration, and then talk about Bank On NC and North Carolina Cooperative Extension. So what is Bank On? You guys are on the call today, so I have piqued your interest. So Bank On is a national movement to expand access to safe and affordable bank accounts. Bank On certified accounts that we'll talk about have met some national account standards. They have no overdraft fees, low opening deposits, low fees. Most of them have no fees, but some do have low fees. And it's available to all adults 18 and plus. Simply put, these Bank On accounts that we're going to talk about have been vetted by nonprofits like the Collaborative and others across the country. And they're not predatory, they're safe, and they're meant to help some of the folks who we serve access bank accounts and to pull them away from payday lenders and check cashers and some of the predatory banking accounts that are out there. And so some of you that work with folks that around their banking and their finances may have a general idea of why we're having this conversation. But in our country, you cannot build wealth or gain financial independence without a bank account. You need a bank account to do that. And many of the vulnerable families that we serve don't have access to a bank account for a number of reasons. A few that we're going to focus on today are something we call these families may be in check system. If someone has had a bank account in the past and they had a negative experience for whatever reason with that bank account and their account is closed, they end up owing fees. They are reported to a consumer reporting agency, similar to a credit reporting agency known as check system. If someone has a report or account in check system, they cannot go to a bank account. So if you had a closed account with, let's say, First Citizens 20 years ago, and you try to open an account with a bank today, you cannot open it because you're in there. You're essentially blacklisted from opening accounts. And so that's one reason why folks are unbanked. The other reason is that folks have some well-warranted mistrust of financial institutions. Bank On is kind of the answer to this. Bank On accounts are provided by local banks. All of the main banks in major banks in North Carolina offer Bank On accounts, and many of the smaller banks offer Bank On accounts. And through Bank On, nonprofits and agents like yourself can develop a relationship with these banks to come in and provide financial literacy workshops and financial capability. And through those, the clients and the folks that you're served organically develop relationships and start to break down barriers or misconceptions that they have around the financial industry. And they do this in a safe space. And so what we have on the screen is just to show you the vast breadth of Bank On. Currently, there are 230 certified accounts, and these are bank products. So there's 235 different bank products across the country that folks that have been certified as Bank On accounts. And these products are available in almost 40,000 branches across the country and 96 Bank On coalitions. Bank On North Carolina is a coalition. There's a Bank On Charleston. There's Bank On San Francisco. So there are over 96 of these locally led Bank On coalitions. So now that I've provided just some framework, or I guess a foundation on Bank On, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Matt Trombley, who is going to talk about some insights on Bank On and also talk about program integration. As I said, we have these accounts, but how do these accounts reach people? How do we increase awareness of them? And so Matt's going to talk about that.
Thanks, Marquita. Hi, everybody. So I'm Matt Trombley. I'm an associate with the Cities for Financial Empowerment Fund. So we're a nonprofit and technical assistance. We're a nonprofit funder and technical assistance provider based out of New York City. And so we help fund and run the Bank On program. And so I'm really excited to be here today to talk to you guys about kind of program integrations and how do we combine Bank On and these safe and affordable bank accounts with clients and individuals that need it in our social service programs. So the overall thing that we strive for is a full-fledged banking access and financial empowerment integration. And so I say full-fledged because integrations, like Marquita said, kind of are on a spectrum. And so it could be everything from just a financial institution providing financial education to having a financial institution tabling at an event and making referrals, all the way to what I was calling a full-fledged integration, where a financial institution is providing financial education, is at a program orientation, and is there to open accounts on site ready for clients, and then help them enroll in direct deposit or bill pay and so forth, so that they can ensure account usage. So a full-fledged kind of integration is putting all three of these steps and kind of pieces together in a very seamless way, so that a client goes through your program and doesn't know anything different, that they just know that, oh, going through this program, I have the opportunity to open a bank account, ensure that usage by enrolling a direct deposit or some other mechanism, and then getting financial education through that same process, through the program as well, so that they have the tools and knowledge of how to use that account that they just opened up. And so with that, the first kind of two questions to think through when we're talking about a program integration, first is this the right time? And so I'll talk about it in a second, the kind of way we classify social service programs with wraparound service and payment programs. And so with that, it's being, when is somebody getting paid? That's usually the right time to talk to somebody about if they're unbanked or banked, or underbanked. And that is the kind of tangible touch point to talk to them about, hey, you don't have a bank account, but you're getting paid. Let's talk about how you can get paid via bank account. And so that's with those wages or benefits, what are those kind of income streams coming in? The second one, is this the right demographic? So we don't want to embed a program integration into a program that has 100% banked population. And so we want to understand through the program process if individuals are unbanked, underbanked, if they're in a bank account that does have predatory fees, different things like that, so that we can help kind of educate them and get them a safe and affordable account through the bank on products. And so is this the right demographic is always talking about also, does the individual have other needs and concerns before opening a bank account? So a lot of times that could be if folks are coming out of reentry or foster youth programs or wraparound services that have complex issues that we may need to talk about first, and then that timing maybe later on to talk to them about opening a bank account and financial education. So like I was saying, we kind of delineate social service programs into payment programs and wraparound services. And so payment programs are those very tangible touch points that have payment streams for clients. So workforce development programs, tax time or VITA programs, when individuals are getting benefits, utility reimbursement, anything like that. Wraparound services is something that we're getting more and more into with program integrations. They're just a little bit more complex because that timing isn't necessarily clear. When an individual going through aging out of foster care isn't the same across the board. They age out at different times in different states. So it's a little bit different. And so we have to kind of just dig into that. But it is possible. It just takes a little bit more work and kind of conversation. With those payment programs, just kind of highlighting the ones we were talking about, summer youth employment programs, VITA, federal loan disbursement are some of the programs we've worked with and worked in, and that we can kind of use those best practices we found in other cities and other areas to kind of apply here. So one thing that we talk about with program integrations is the programmatic benefits that we see a lot of times. The first one being the super vitamin effect. That's something that CFE coined long before I joined CFE, but it's what we call that kind of seeping out of financial empowerment work that we see when we embed up into a program with banking access and financial empowerment work. We see it not just impact that client that you're working with, but their family and friends as well. We see it impact the organization as a whole, where we work with municipalities. We've seen program integration then turn into the city saying, oh, we need to make direct deposit required for everybody in the city. And we need to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to open bank accounts in our city. And so seeing that kind of filter out into other programs and other systems is really great to see. Part of this also reduces administrative and payroll costs. So a lot of times if individuals are getting paid by paper check, that can be a big administrative burden to make sure that paper check gets to somebody and into their hands. I've heard horror stories of boxes of paper checks getting shipped via FedEx and there was a hole in the bottom and 60 checks flew out the FedEx truck. And so I've heard those horror stories, and this is can really alleviate those payroll costs as well as those administrative burdens. It just takes some working. The last thing is preparing those clients for financial success. We really, like Marquita was saying, getting a bank account is that foundational stepping stone for kind of individual's financial pathway. So if somebody's interested in investment, they need to have a bank account first. If they're talking about savings, they need to have a bank account. So this is that first step for individuals to take. And we want to make sure it's a safe and solid one with a bank on product. And then so just touching back over these 3 steps of banking, that first one being helping clients internalize the benefits of banking. So we want somebody to understand why they're opening an account, why we're giving them that opportunity, why we're setting it up. So that is really that financial education. So giving them the financial education to understand why this opportunity matters and how they can take up that opportunity. Then if we can embed more benefits of banking throughout the program, great. We really want to give them the tools and knowledge on how to utilize that bank account to the best of their ability. That second one, providing the opportunity to open bank accounts. That can look different ways, and I'll kind of cover that later on. And then the last thing is just ensuring clients are using the account. A lot of times that's done by direct deposit. We can also do that with bill pay, and is having a conversation with individuals of knowing, okay, I have this bank account, now how do I use it? What is my next step? A lot of times programs drop off there. We want to make sure that everybody understands how to use it and why it's important. And then just that last piece that we kind of talk here in that gray is we want to really make sure that this is seamlessly blended into the program. That's always our ideal, because we don't want clients to feel like, oh, this is an added thing, I don't have to do this. The expectations get kind of out of whack when it's something plugged on or built on. When it's built and kind of baked into it, that's when clients really internalize the benefits of banking and understand, oh, the program that I value and I've gone through before, or this is my first time and I'm excited to join, is telling me, hey, I need to take this opportunity to open a bank account. And that's when we really see it hit home and clients really take up the opportunity. And so one thing to think about is first asking those questions, is this the right time? Is this the right demographic? The second kind of step with any program integration is understanding the social service program's kind of roadmap. So what is that client experience from outreach and application to getting into the program to their training? Is there any kind of payroll? And then is there any ongoing training? And so these touch points that I have up on the screen are from one of our Summer Jobs Connect program that I help run, which embeds banking access and financial empowerment work into summer youth employment programs. Youth programs are a little bit different just because there's some additional considerations with bank on products that we make and that we want to talk to the programs about when we're talking about a youth population versus 18 and plus, which is what most bank on products are 18 and plus. There are a few that are under, but we also have other products that we work with that we talk to financial institutions about to offer those kind of safeguards for youth with these bank accounts. And so with that, this is just a general program touch point kind of roadmap for summer youth employment. And so this is just a kind of process we take all programs through when we're talking about an integration. So we understand when are those interaction points between me and the individual that I'm serving. Is it virtual? Is it hybrid? Is it in person? Is it a whole day orientation? Is it just an hour? What does that look like so we can understand how we can embed the banking access and financial empowerment work into your program? We don't want to disrupt your program. We don't want to change it. We want to work within it. And so really this helps us understand the underlying program, and so that we can figure out how we can best fit the integration into there. The last piece I'll touch on is the actual account opening mechanism. And so really with that, there's 4 different ways that we talk about that with social service programs. The first and kind of, I will say the easiest in quotes, is that online account opening. It's the easiest for everybody, but getting a financial institution to offer that is kind of a struggle, and it's still not as common as I would like, because it makes everybody's job a little bit easier. But it's getting more and more common, especially after the pandemic. And so it's something that really can help in an integration where we can just have a laptop or iPad set up at an orientation, and clients can go through the account opening there themselves with either the financial institution or program staff to help them go through that process. The second is the program visits the financial institution. This is a little less, this is a little more challenging because the program has to have that staffing capacity to get all those individuals there and stuff like that. It is done, we see it more done with youth population and or population that is kind of wraparound services to help get clients to the financial institution and create a warm handoff between financial institution and the clients. The reverse of that is the financial institution visits the program. This is what we see most commonly. And so this is what we call remote account opening, and most financial institutions have the ability of doing this. It's just getting them comfortable with doing that sometimes too. And so that's where having their tellers or some other banking staff to come to the orientation, enrollment, one of those touch points to talk about either financial education, actual offering those accounts, and really giving clients the chance to open those accounts right then and there, getting them an account number, and then helping them enroll in direct deposit and so forth. The other side, the last piece is facilitated by program staff. So that is more dependent on the partnership between the financial institution and the program. And so that's where you need a strong partnership there, is that the financial institution has to trust the program staff to give them blank paper applications or some other kind of online application that they can help the individuals go through and fill out. And then they return those paper applications or submit those online applications to the financial institution to process them. The last piece with the account opening, that kind of the factors that fill into all 4 of those is staffing, like I mentioned. Does the financial institution have enough staff to come to the program? Does the program staff have enough staffing to come to the financial institution or facilitate the actual account opening themselves? The opening deposit, all bank on products have an opening deposit of $25 or less. A lot of them are dropping much lower than $25. There are still some out there that do, like Bank of America, but they are there. And so it's just thinking through that process of how is somebody going to satisfy that opening deposit when they're opening the account? Do they need to provide cash right then? Most financial institutions won't, because of that, the safety mechanism of somebody handing their bank teller $5 at the program site just isn't the most secure or safe way. A lot of times they'll defer it until they get their first paycheck, or they'll give them 30 days or 60 days to fund that account, or we figure out a way to seed that account through outside philanthropy or any kind of funding. The last piece is client ID. And so this is really, when you talk about, is this the right demographic or timing for banking access integration with your program? Do these most accounts require state IDs? With individuals 18 plus, that's usually not too big of an issue, because if they're driving, they have a driver's license. With youth population, it's a little bit different. And that's where we make additional considerations with bank-on products to allow alternative IDs. So student IDs, their employer ID, stuff like that. The other population you typically want to talk about client IDs about is with reentry programs. So if they're coming out of the justice system, it's usually if they don't have a driver's license or they don't have any identification, we need to figure out a way to either get that for them to then make sure that they can open an account. So it's putting those pieces together to make sure that we can create that opportunity for clients and individuals to open accounts. That last piece that Marquita was talking about is the check systems. And so this is where we build a relationship with the financial institution, is if they do get a red flag about the check systems, they can let us know, and so that we can work with that individual to rectify that situation or that negative occurrence on the report. And sometimes with youth populations, a lot of times youth are unbanked. They've never had a bank account. So how do they have a negative report on their check systems? Is typically somebody took advantage of them by using their name and social security information to open a bank account or a utilities account. And that is what happens. And so a lot of times it's having that partnership and relationship to talk with the financial institution, to work with them, to be flexible with us on that. And so that kind of all filters down into that account opening method. So in general, that's program integrations. I know it's kind of a lot of information, but I know we're gonna talk about the focus groups that we've been conducting, and then highlight a couple potential program integrations that we've found and talked with people. And then we'll kind of talk about questions and next steps. Thanks. Marquita.
All right, thank you, Matt. And so we have talked with, and I'm actually gonna hand this over to Patrice to talk about the focus groups that we have convened as part of Bank On North Carolina with North Carolina Cooperative Extension.
Okay, thank you, Marquita. I just want to point out that in talking about Bank On and looking at how we can integrate it into extension, cooperative extension, we said we need to talk with the agents to see how they can integrate it into their program, because extension as a whole works with and provides services to many of the populations that you saw in the group that that could benefit from Bank On. You know, when we looked at the youth programs and the home buyer education programs, or the survivor of domestic violence, so low income individuals that attend programs like SNAP Ed, or even with the FNET program. So, so we did 2 focus groups, and those 2 groups met, one on the March, in March, and then we did one March 17th, and one was on April the 4th, I think was the other date. And so we've gonna, you see the list of individuals that we met with that are on the screen. And so if you see the list, I think Kenyatta's name is on here twice, but we actually met with about 7 agents, and we did, like I said, we did it in 2 parts. And actually one of the agents is work with the small farm program as part of the ag staff. So I don't want people to think that this is just a program for 4-H or for FCS. It can be used across all of extension, and then be used in all 100 counties of extension. So we just want to keep that in mind. But I want to start with the case study with Kit, if we can move to the next slide. And so Kit was in one of the second focus group, I believe. And so she talked about a program that she partners with, and that's the local vital program. And so she thinks that that's going to be one that she can work with in terms of where clients are underbanked or unbanked or underbanked. And so the idea is to try and integrate it into programs that you already have. And since she's already working with this program, we're not reinventing the wheel. So what we're doing is taking a program that an agent already has, and then integrate that Bank On into that program. So Kit, do you want to talk a few minutes about, some of the how you see this, how you see Bank On working with your program?
Sure, thank you. Like Patrice said, I was fortunate enough to be able to partner with one of our local nonprofits, so the extension could be at the table when talking about taxes and our financial management program through cooperative extension service. And so what I have noticed is that some of our clients are either unbanked or underbanked. And so this opportunity to be able to take them to the next level with Bank On, I thought was a great opportunity. Many of the clients, if you know anything about the VITA program, it's supposed to be a certain threshold that we serve, but fortunate enough, because of some of the extra dollars that we're able to get in, we do not just stick to those that or limited resource access individuals, we also able to do taxes for those that are middle age and middle income, I'm sorry. But even at that approach, we do still see that many of them are unbanked or underbanked.
Okay. And so the idea is to try and work with the VITAL program to be able to offer bank accounts to participants of the VITAL program. And I have seen it work where you can have an actual a bank representative at the location, at the VITAL site, and they can actually enroll people into an account by just simply going to a computer and setting it up. I mean, I think this day and time, we're fortunate to have that technology, but it's easy to do. And it can be done at a VITAL site. So, Kit, do you have any other comments you want to make on that, or Marquita, do you want to ask her anything about the program itself?
No, actually, I think Matt had a few questions that he wanted to share with her.
Yeah, so the one we've worked with VITAL programs across the country to embed Bank On products into their processes. I will say it's not an easy program integration just because it is a very short window. So this is where you think about the different lengths of kind of touch points that you have with clients. And so it is possible, and I think it is something critical. The big first step a lot of times is making sure the population you're working with is unbanked, or just asking them that question and getting a better understanding of that. Because that can really, if you're talking to people that are unbanked, great, we can talk about Bank On products and accounts. If it's underbanked, it's just a different conversation of, okay, if you're underbanked, have a bank account, but you're using alternative services. And so maybe you're not getting your tax refund via direct deposit. And so then it's that conversation of, okay, why are you not using that account? If you have it, okay, it's high fees. Okay, well, there's these Bank On products that are low fees that you can then use right away. And how can we then talk about switching to that? And so VITA is a great example because it's very tangible. People are getting tax refunds, you're right there. It's just, you have to, when thinking about program integrations, you have to think about how and when will you talk to somebody about opening an account? Is there any education you can give before to prepare them for that opportunity, stuff like that. And so it can be done in VITA. It's just, you have to think about that timing of it. And it's definitely doable, but yeah.
All right, thank you, Matt. Did you want to make any other comment, Kit? Because we're okay.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right, so we'll move to the next slide, and we'll talk about another type of program integration with the youth program. And so this one was done with Waikia Macon. And so Waikia works with the 4-H program. And so she can talk a little bit about the summer youth employment, or the potential for that, and potential to integrate Bank On into her program. And keep in mind that there's no timeline on Bank On, because it's a continuous initiative. So if it's not done this summer, that it can be done at some time in the future. So I mean, I've talked with Shamika Battle about doing it in the fall with some of the programs that she has coming up. And so just keep in mind that it's not necessarily a timeline on it. Waikia?
Yeah, so I partner with a local community center here that has a program called Launchpad, and it is a program that offers paid internships to teens, placing them in both Vance County and Warren County. And part of their training does include a financial literacy component, which I helped lead last year. And during the previous meeting with members of Bank On and Ms. Patrice, we did talk about different ways to kind of incorporate some lessons around financial education. And for the youth who are 18, trying to get them bank accounts so they understand how to maneuver. So that's where we are right now. And as Ms. Patrice said, I'm not sure if we'll be able to incorporate it this summer or next summer, but this program is continuous, so it's definitely something that can be offered.
Patrice, you're muted.
I'm sorry, I caught it. Thank you. I know that several of the, well, probably most 4-H staff will be running some type of summer program with youth. I don't know if they'll include a financial component, but certainly it's something worthy to consider and bank on. Again, as students get older, they're concerned about employment and making their own money. You know, I use the example of, I have a niece, she just turned 17 and she's making $18 an hour. And I said, what? No experience, hadn't even graduated from high school. But again, you know, there needs to be a bank account, you know, somewhere for her to place that money, and then teaching her about being able to use that account and to manage her money, not just going to the mall and spending it all on clothes. So again, that's what Bank On can do, is also provide some type of financial education, and as well as provide the account so that students can learn how to manage their money. So I see Bank On as being an absolute asset for Extension. I see Extension being a good partner for Bank On. Actually, not a good partner, a great partner for Bank On, because it's worked in other states. So yes. Okay. Am I talking too much? I'll stop right here.
No, I think you did good. And I just want to add on something that you and I have discussed throughout this process, is that Bank On is not a new program or an additional program for Extension. It is an integration. And what it's meant or designed to do is to really work as a complement or an enhancer to what you're already doing. So if you're already doing something, we just want you to also include the conversation about bank accounts into what you're already doing. And you don't, you know, the agents don't even have to facilitate those conversations. There are bank partners in the community that can facilitate those conversations and provide financial literacy. So I think that's one thing that we want to stress, that this is not an additional work, additional project, but just something for you to consider. And what makes Extension such a unique partner and a great partner is the opportunity to scale. We have had these Bank On accounts in North Carolina for a couple of years now, but if no one knows about them, if we're not bringing them to the people that really need them, then how effective are they? And the connections that you have in the communities with this particular population is key in at least increasing awareness that these accounts are available.
The two things that I'll add, because I saw two questions come through. One with youth. So obviously, if the youth are 18 and plus, they can take advantage of the Bank On accounts and products. But we do, so I mentioned Summer Jobs Connect. We work with Summer Youth Employment Program, 25 cities across the country, embedding this into their programs. We will offer Bank On products to youth that are 18 plus, but obviously there are contingent of youth that do get paid that are under 18, that could be 17, 16, some even down all the way to 14. And so with those, we have a separate set of, not standards, but priorities. We call them youth account priorities, that are derived from the national account standards that Bank On uses. There's just some additional safeguards that we add in there for the youth population. And so a lot of times that is alternative IDs, but also the opening deposit, as well as the monthly maintenance fee. So Bank On products can have a monthly maintenance fee of $5. With youth, we know that their income isn't as consistent and stuff like that. And so that $5 is a large barrier. And so we want to, that is free for them. We also want to put some other safeguards in place with it being a checklist checking account, so that youth can't overdraft or do non-sufficient fund fees for using writing a check or anything like that. And so there's just some additional considerations that we work with our financial institution partners to make sure those are safe for those younger youth. But a lot of times what we're seeing more and more is those Bank On products can be leveraged for that. So a lot of times it's just back-end modifications that have to happen to make those Bank On products kind of meet those youth account priorities. I don't want to get too into the weeds of this because I can, and Marquita knows I'll talk about talk y'all's ears off. but the big difference, so bank on products have to be publicly available. So I could walk into any Truist Bank, any Bank of America and say, hey, I want to open this bank on product. It may not have the bank on name attached to it, but it will have the bank on certified seal with all of those materials. So anybody can open those. With our youth account priorities, with those accounts that we kind of negotiate with financial institutions, those don't have to be publicly available. So they just need, they can be just available just to the youth in this 4-H program. And so that is usually where financial institutions get more comfortable being able to open those accounts for youth under 18. And so that's where, and a lot of times they may turn that into a publicly available account, which is great, but a lot of times they don't. It's just what makes them feel comfortable with that, but they are the same accounts. And then the nice thing, if we're doing that with a bank on product, youth can then just kind of transition right into that bank on product, which we know is a safe and affordable product that they can have for the rest of their life. The comment with alternative IDs. So with financial institutions, they just, the regulation is kind of broad in the sense that they have to know their customer. A lot of financial institutions assume that that means that individuals have to have a state ID. If a youth is going through a program or somebody's going through a workforce development program and has to provide all of the documents that meet an I-9 form, and so that can include a social security card, that is more rigorous than the getting your driver's license. And so that's where a lot of times we'll talk to financial institutions to make to talk them through the process of verifying alternative IDs. And so that could be a school ID, that could be their employer ID. It may just have to have certain things on there. But it's just kind of a conversation that we have with financial institutions to be flexible with that. They still are knowing their customer, they're getting all of that verification, they're just not requiring a state ID. So they may require 2 other documents, like a utility bill or social security or birth certificate, different things like that. With an undocumented individual in that population, it becomes a little bit more complicated, and it depends on the financial institution's willingness to be flexible. And that's what a lot of this with youth in those considerations, it comes with their willingness. And so sometimes it takes time. We've worked with Summer Jobs Connect, has been around for 9 years now, and we've worked with a lot of financial institutions, and they slowly get more flexible. I mean slowly. It kind of builds that trust of, okay, we can offer this bank on account to a subset of youth that are 18 and plus, and then they see that there's more and more youth coming through the program that are 16 that are interested in the bank accounts. They're making the income, they're invested, they're learning about financial education. Those additional things help make financial institutions feel willing to open those accounts and be flexible. So it comes with the conversation. And so it is possible. It's just kind of that considerations we have to make and talk through for the different populations we work with. So I hope that answered some of the questions. It depends with the social security number, that depends on the financial institution. Most of them will require it because of their customer, and they may run a credit report and credit check. But that's where check systems, we have a partnership with check systems that really simplifies the checking process for individuals, and so that it really helps weed out any negative, not weeds out negative things, but kind of helps filter out some of those things, so that individuals that really need it and that maybe just have been taken advantage of or anything like that can then leverage the support. I think the next question's perfectly suited for you, Marquita.
Yeah.
How do we get the information on Bank On to use in our counties? And so there's Bank On information on the national website. The Bank On North Carolina Coalition is very new, and we are working with the national team to develop our website. And so there will be information online, and we are also working on a catalog of sorts of bank accounts and their functions so that folks can make individual decisions on them. But aside from that, you know, we could definitely have something like that available for agents to use. It will be available in Spanish. That we could have something for agents to use, but that is, you know, that is one aspect of it, and not necessarily the program integration piece, but we're definitely working on some resources and things that folks can use just to have very generic conversations with people about bank on accounts. And Matt mentioned this earlier, is that if someone goes into a branch, even now, you could go to Wells Fargo and say, hey, I want to open a bank on account. These accounts at each bank, at each bank has a different name. Bank on is a way to describe the standards and the rigorous vetting that these accounts have been through, but each account has a different name. And so that is going to be also important as folks go out and try to open these accounts. So we are going to launch a poll. I actually launched it. And so we've been talking a lot today about bank on integration. And so just based off of what you've heard right now, we'd like your insights on this. What are your thoughts on integrating it into your program? The first one is, you think it would be a great addition. The second one, it could work, but you still have some questions, which makes total sense. I'm unsure what Bank On is and how it will work with my programs. And the last one, I am not interested in the time. And so we are trying to get 100% participation. We have 50%. There are 7 of you out there that have not taken the poll, and we are waiting on you to take it. And we're going to close it in about 5 seconds. We've got 60% participation, waiting on 70. Where are you? Where are you? We got 5 people that haven't done it. We've got 86%. We've got 2 people that haven't done it, waiting on you to do it. Even if you're not interested, let us know. And we're going to close it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and it is closed. And it looks like most of you, a great deal of you are unsure on what it is and how it works, and that makes total sense. This is a high-level conversation that we talked about with Bank On, and definitely understand how you need to know more to make a better decision. So that is good to know. So the next, if you could advance the slide, I think our next thing is questions. And a few questions have come through the chat, came through before. And so I'm going to read it off. What is, would this be considered a new program? No, this wouldn't be a new program. This would be something to complement or enhance the programs that you're currently doing. If you are interested, what would be the process? So after the Zoom, we'll be sending out a form to gauge your interest. If you're interested, complete the form and let us know, and we'll coordinate a time to talk more with you about Bank On to discuss the feasibility. This may not be a good fit for this program. This may be for your program. It may be an amazing fit, but we'll talk through that. And if it is a good fit, we'll talk about ways to integrate it into your program. If not, we'll let it go. You just want more information. Someone says, I just want more information. We don't have the bandwidth for this right now. I totally get that. When we fill out the form, let us know that, and we will move accordingly. And the last question I have is, can we partner with a bank for financial education only? Of course. I don't work for a bank. I work for a nonprofit. And I will say that banks in your community and in the communities across North Carolina are committed to financial education. They're committed to having folks informed and having educated consumers and customers. And so if you're interested in providing your clients with financial education, that is always an option and does not even have to result in Bank On or opening a bank account. And so I am going to check the chat now to see if there are any more questions. It doesn't look like there are. If anyone has anything, you can raise your hand. And I saw something came on. Where can we read more about Bank On? Came on late. Sure, Tina. Matt just put that in the thing. Thank you, Matt. And so are there any more? There is a question raised. Liz has her hand raised, and I'm hitting allow you to talk, Liz, if you want to ask your question.
Is this something that we could work with our housing authority and also like, I think I heard like the wraparound would be working with anyone with food stamps or different situations like that, that we could bring this for as a county entity to another county entity to present it to them if we don't have a VITA program in our county. I don't know if there is 100% VITA, but I have not heard it for our county.
Absolutely. I think that we work with some housing authorities and folks that provide benefits. And so I think that is a great intersection, a great partnership, and would love to talk with you more about that. That's a great idea.
Awesome.
Can I make a comment on that, Marquita?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, actually having a bank account is kind of like an infrastructure. It's kind of like building a community and having roads to support that community. So that's just what your bank account is like, the infrastructure for like home buyer education or for people buying homes. Does that kind of make sense?
Yes, ma'am. In Chatham
Okay.
County, we're having we're getting a new car automaker, and our housing is increasing. We're increasing our low income housing, and I see this as a potential. We also have resource hubs to provide information for different nonprofits, and I see this as being a part of that resource hub to get the information out to people, to let them know that it exists. I just need the information I need to learn about it so I can, pass out the information to get it started.
Okay. We'll work on it.
Yeah, we'll work on that, Liz.
Thank you.
I am, we'll be sending some information out, but I am also going to put my email in the chat. I just realized I didn't do that. And if you have more pointed questions or just want to talk out offline about anything related to this, financial literacy, financial capability, just developing a relationship with the local bank to provide those resources or bank on, please email me. I'd love to have that conversation with you. All right, so if there are not any more questions, I want to thank you all for getting on. Be looking out for that email, and you guys have a wonderful day.
Hang on, I'm writing down your email address. Oh, man.